Hello and welcome to part 2 of the MTA Iceberg. This part will include layers 4 and 5. Enjoy. (1575). The R7 and R7A were subway cars built for the IND, built by the American Car and Foundry, or Pullman. They ran in service from 1938 to 1977. One R7 and one R7A are preserved. The R7A being numbered 1575, which would be modified a good amount during its service life, being rebuilt from its original appearance by ACF following an accident in 1946, and became the prototype for the R10, is currently in store by the Transit Museum and it sometimes comes out on excursions, while the R7 is preserved by the Seashore Trolley Museum in Maine. It gives tourists rides around in it. It's usually coupled with the R4. Robert Moses. Robert Moses was a public official who mainly worked in the New York metropolitan area, which also involved New York City, whose decisions mainly favored highways over public transport, which is probably why he's in this iceberg. Before I go over this next entry, I'm putting this warning right now, as the following entry has mentions of suicide. If you're not comfortable with the subject, skip to the timestamp on screen. 9th Avenue Line. The 9th Avenue Line was another elevated line in Manhattan and the Bronx, running from South Ferry, as usual, to Jerome Anderson Avenues. A huge portion of the line was closed and demolished on June 11, 1940, only leaving Jerome Anderson Avenues and Sedgwick Avenue in service, the line now called the Polo Grounds Shuttle. However, that portion will also close later on August 31, 1958. The Polo Grounds Shuttle station still exists, however they're abandoned, corroded, closed off, and filled with graffiti and vegetation. The line featured a curve from 110th Street. The curve was infamous for people jumping off of it and to their deaths. It was called the Suicide Curve. Program for Action. The Program for Action was a series of proposals in the 60s made under Mayor John Lindsay. The program called for many expansions and new trackage, many involving adding more subway service to Queens. Unfortunately, this program never really came to light as the subway very nearly went bankrupt in 1975. The only projects that finished from this program were the 63rd Street line and the stub of the Archer Avenue lines. It's not that likely that any more of these projects will be finished up or done in the first place. IND 42nd Street, lower level. 42nd Street is a major express station on the IND 8th Avenue line. While the line currently only has 2 platforms, it also has an abandoned platform at the lower level, which was used by special trains and short-turning E-trains. The platform was closed in 1981. The platform currently is cut through by the Flushing Line's extension. Dean Street Station. Dean Street was a station on the Franklin Avenue Shuttle. It was in between Franklin Avenue and Park Place. The station was closed and demolished on September 10, 1995. Because it was close to Franklin Avenue, fare beaters used it a lot, and deterioration hit the station a lot. And according to this image on Wikipedia, a small lamppost is the only remnant of the station. Yeah, go ahead, find it. I can't. R32 GE. The R32 had many iterations when it was being rebuilt. This one is about the R32s rebuilt by General Electric. These cars were scrapped through 2007 and 2008 because apparently they fucking sucked. They also look a lot like the R38s on the front. R46 Lemon. Okay, look, I adore the R46, but I can't not admit that it has or had some issues. Back then, when they were first being delivered, cracks in the trucks were found and every single R46 was pulled from service to be checked on. They were intentionally used way less back then because of them. Their trucks were eventually replaced by the ones used by the R44s. And in 1979, the steel that joined the car body and the trucks together were starting to wear away, which was pretty fucking dangerous. All of this caused the MTA to file a $80 million charge towards Pullman. They still have some small issues caused by maintenance, but they still run alright. (1984) shooting. On December 22, 1984, 4 18 to 19-year-old men were shot on the 2 train by Bernhard Goetz after seemingly attempting to rob him. None of them were killed, but one was left paraplegic. Getz was initially only indicted for criminal gun possession, but later down the line, he was charged for carrying an unlicensed firearm, serving jail time for 1 year, so he was paroled 4 months early. However, he was charged $43 million for damages towards the paraplegic man. Old Jamaica L. Before the Archer Avenue lines existed, the Jamaica line continued northeast towards 168th Street. However, business owners and groups on the L didn't like it because it's twats. So when the Archer Avenue lines was being built, the Jamaica line after 121st Street was demolished, which, funnily enough, tanked business for the stores along the L, including a Macy's. Culver Shuttle. The Culver Shuttle was a shuttle line that ran single-tracked from Dismas Avenue on Culver to 9th Avenue on West End. The service started on October 30th, 1954. The service ended on May 10th, 1975, though the L itself was demolished in the mid-80s. The only remnants of the shuttle is a bit of the trackway for the line at Dismas Avenue and the lower level of 9th Avenue. 1991, Union Square crash. In 1991, a speeding freight train derailed and got brutalized on a switch near Union Square. Few actually died, but a lot were injured. The cause was a speeding drunk driver. Christie Street Connection. The Christie Street Connection are multiple connecting tunnels on Christie Street in Lower Manhattan, connecting many BMT and IND lines together. IND Second System. The IND Second System was multiple line proposals by the IND, expanding service in all 4 boroughs and even Staten Island. However, the Great Depression and many other factors led to most of the proposals never seeing light. The 2nd Avenue subway is the only second system line that's being built right now. LIRR Rockaway Line. Before the subway went there, the Rockaways were served solely by the LIRR, called the Rockaway Beach Branch, running from somewhere in Rego Park to Far Rockaway, Rockaway Park, or Rockaway Peninsula. The line would be closed after fires decimated the line on the Jamaica Bay from 1942 to 1950. The LIRR, as it was bankrupt at the time, did not repair the line, instead opting to use the Far Rockaway branch, which is in use today. The line would be bought out by the city and converted into a subway line in 1956, which is now the IND Rockaway Line. And shuttle trains run on it. Dual contracts. The dual contracts were contracts for construction and reconstruction of lines and stations on the BRT, soon BMT, and IRT, both working together, which brought in the current 14th Street, Astoria, Flushing, Brighton, 4th Avenue, Fulton Street, Jamaica, and Nassau Street lines, and brought the tracks on the Manhattan Bridge. Reefing. From 2000 to 2010, instead of scrapping the retired trains, the MTA shoved them underwater to create artificial reefs to promote marine life, and to give the lads going underwater something neat to look at. The trains do look pretty cool deteriorated underwater like that, so gotta say. The trains that were reefed were the IRT Redbirds, R32GEs, many Phase 1 and Phase 2s, R38s, R40s, and most R42s. Current day, we're back to the scrapyard. And that's the end of Part 2. The next part, Part 3, I will try to keep with layers 6 and 10 being in one video, but don't count your money on it. And a reminder to look at all of these once you're finished with this video. And that being said, this is Albie from Multitopic. You all have a great night, and thank you for watching.